Hello, hello. Welcome to Tammy's Table. I am Tammy Gaines. I am your host, and I want to welcome you to my kitchen. Now, if you think about all the best parties you've ever been to or gatherings, everybody somehow ends up in the kitchen. And it's in the kitchen where wisdom is shared, problems are talked about, life lessons are made, not the stuff they teach in school, but the stuff you need to know to keep moving forward. So on Tammy's Table, that's the environment I want to create. Very focused on helping women build resilience in all areas of their life. And my guest today, I talk about like a ideal person to talk about this topic. Um, I am so pleased to welcome Dr. Ray Blanchard. And let me tell you about Dr. Ray. So I know him personally, but let me give you the professional side. He's a master trainer, a seminar designer, a corporate wellness consultant. He uses mixed modalities like psychology and philosophy in order to help people be their best selves. I have had the pleasure of training with Dr. Ray. I've seen him speak. I know they're written for a treat. So, Dr. Ray, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's been a while since we've been together, so it's a great opportunity for both of us to get together and share some great knowledge and wisdoms and insights with people. So I'm glad to be
Yes.
here.
So, I want to ask you, and if it's too personal, don't answer. But do you have any experience in life with like not failure or hitting or challenge or hitting a wall that you didn't ever think you were going to get around? Something you never
Wow.
thought you'd get over.
Wow, I've had a bunch of those. I mean, where should I
Uh,
start?
like where to start? Well, give me
You know,
one like that's really significant that we can use to sort of shape this conversation.
well, one of them was really huge. Was a few years ago, my mom passed away, and 2 weeks later, my sister passed away, and
Uh,
she had no signs of illness. So she was not able to even go to the funeral with my mom because she was in the hospital. And
mm,
while we were at the funeral for my mom, we got the notification that my sister passed away. And right after that, it was devastating for my family, my siblings, and for me. We all went through incredible trauma during that time. So, absolutely,
uh,
that's a big one.
yeah, that's devastating. I'm so sorry to hear. Um, so a lot of the listeners that I have and people that I want to reach out to are people that are facing something that they have no idea how to get through. So today's show, I'm really excited. We're going to talk about falling forward rather than falling back, which is don't ever fall backwards. And it's funny, I was thinking about the show today, Dr. Ray, and when you fall, like if you tripped walking down the street, you'd want to fall forward so you could put your hands down, right? And your knees. When you fall backwards, you're falling. I mean, it's hard. You hit the cement. There's no stopping your fall.
Right. And
So go ahead.
yeah, with falling backwards, you're into the unknown, complete unknown, and you're vulnerable. But if you fall forward, at least you can brace yourself and you have something to utilize. And maybe that's what we want to talk about a little bit later today, is that utilizing some of the things that you already have going for you. When you fall forward, you can use those things. But when you
Right.
fall backwards, it's like you're empty. Falling forward is like you're utilizing some of the things that you can leverage.
So let me ask you, I mean, I know you travel all over the world speaking. Um, when you lost your mom and your sister within weeks of each other, how did you fall forward? Or did you?
Well, to be real honest, immediately it was such a shock that I was a little stunned and I didn't know quite what to do. But one of the things that really helped me is to giving myself permission not to fix it.
Mm,
Not because my MO usually is go into fixing things and handling things. You know, that's my profession, is to handle things and help people handle things. And then when it happened to me and I went through it, what do you do? And I think one of the best things I did for myself at the time is to give myself permission not to have to fix it, and not to have closure right away, and just accept it and give myself some space. And I had a lot of tools, given my profession and friends and colleagues who could help me out. But I think that was one of the biggest things right away, is to just give myself some space.
I think that's so important, giving yourself permission. Um, and most people don't, like, we go right into action mode, right?
Mhm.
But it's in when you're busy being busy, you're not feeling what you're feeling. So
Mhm.
I think that is extremely important as a good first step is to give yourself permission. Um,
Mhm.
and then just talk generally. I mean, you have tools that you use to help people get to the next step or get through whatever it is they're facing. What are some of the tools that you can use, like practically, that people can use to fall forward?
Well, I think the first one, as I just mentioned, is to give yourself some space, because most people want to get rid of things right away, like trauma or hurt. They want to get rid of it. And one of the things I do in a lot of my trainings and a lot of the work that I do is let people experience their experience. Just go ahead and experience it rather than deny it, rather than trying to stuff it, rather than trying to avoid it and get rid of it,
Hmm.
and going into resistance. Because when you're in resistance to it, you're more vulnerable to be broken. But if you just let yourself experience your experience,
Hmm.
it tends to complete itself, number one. Like anything in life, when it's fully experienced, it doesn't need to be there anymore. It's like, and I
That's
always,
what I was gonna. Sorry for interrupting. That's what I was gonna ask you. How do you know when you're done? Experience whatever you're experiencing.
it kind of falls away, and the light bulbs kind of come back on. I always use the metaphor, you like fruit on a tree. When it's fully ripened, it just falls away. It doesn't need to
Hmm.
be anymore. But and what happens for most people, they don't complete things. They don't let themselves complete it because they're afraid of it, and they
Right.
avoid it, and they resist it, and they don't
Right.
want to complete it or experience it. But when you fully experience it, and I even take people through exercises in the training to let them experience their experience and go through all the hurt, go through all the emotion, go through all the excitement, and then let it just complete itself naturally. We don't, it's like someone says, you push the river, it flows by itself. So you don't force it, you don't do anything, you just experience it. And when you experience it, it completes itself naturally. So I'm really big on natural, organic, letting it happen, be in your experience. And all that I have people do is simply notice. Notice something you never noticed before, and then move on to the next. And notice something you never noticed before, and move on to the next. So noticing and being mindful is a practice of getting you present again.
Right. For anything, by the way, not just for this.
Yeah.
Um, so I've learned in my own life that when I don't let something work itself out, like experience the entire feeling or the experience, it always finds a way to come back again, either in the same form or a different form. I'm like, I thought I was done with you, but I actually was not done with it.
Yeah, that's so funny because it's like a broken record. You remember the days when we had those the record players and the
Yep.
discs, and they would get scratched,
Yep.
and the turntable goes, and then the needle will just pop right back, and it just over and over and over. Well, it's like that. When something it comes back again. If you don't complete it, it just keeps coming back over and over and over again. And
Absolutely. So, okay, so far we've talked about being present, like noticing differently. Um, what's another in the process of falling forward? Um, well, yeah.
that's a good
How
question.
about another tool? And then I have a totally different question.
Well, I like I said, I like to be real organic about things. So one of the things I think is really, really important that people forget is to get outside, get out of the space, get out of the environment, the hurt environment, and even take walks, get outside, get into the environment, it's just like some of the great thinkers say that environment is stronger than even willpower.
Mm.
If you can get out into the environment, there's no judgment in the environment, and nature has no judgment. So it allows you to be present and connected and feel part of something and let nature speak to you. So get out into nature or change your environment and get into something that's stimulating and refreshing. So allow yourself to be stimulated by new input rather than just being stuck in where you're at.
Now that's so interesting. I would have never come up with that one, like from my brain.
Mm.
But I think I do that naturally when things start to go sideways. I get the dog and I walk. And somehow on those walks, not everything becomes crystal clear, but certain things become crystal clear, which hopefully leads to, a ripple effect.
Yeah, isn't it amazing though when you're walking, things just kind of drop away, different thoughts come, you notice different things, and the way to code this for people is to be embodied, get back into your body. Many people get out of their body, and what you want to do is get back into your body. A good friend of mine does some really, really great work, and she calls it getting into the green zone. If you can imagine like a pyramid
Hmm.
in three sections. And the top section is red, the middle section is yellow, and the bottom section is green. Well, the red zone is when you're stressed and and frustration, and you can't think straight. And if you can do mindful practices and then you can get into the yellow zone, which is getting back into your body, like
Hmm.
walking, getting present, uh,
Hmm.
really reconnecting. And then you can get into your green zone, which is your flow state. But walking, dancing, music, anything that gets your body operative will get you into that yellow zone, and then you can go into your green zone, which is your power zone, where you're more empowered, your flow state.
So, how do you know if you're out of your body? What does that look like? What does that feel like?
When you're numb. you, you feel numb. You just feel
Duh.
numb. Right. You just feel you feel numb, and you're just in your thoughts. You're just thinking and thinking and thinking and anticipating, and most people start anticipating the worst. What's it going to be like?
Right.
This is going to last forever, and I don't see my way out, and they think of the worst, and your mind is just running rampant. So you got to get control of your mind and
Mm.
get back present again. And I think one of the things that is really, really important is to remember that you have control of your mind. You have choice. You have the ability to shift things. And most people forget that. So if you could just think, I know this is a fact. My mom passed, my sister passed. I know this is a fact. It's not going to go away. I'm not going to try to make it go away. But what I do have is I have a mind. I can shift my mind. I can shift my attitude. I can think different thoughts. I don't have to think what I'm thinking. I know I'm making stuff up all the time and anticipating the worst.
Hmm.
I can realize that I'm doing that, then I can stop myself and allow myself to stop,
Hmm.
start to notice, and get back in my body, do some things that really give me some pleasure, and
Yeah.
get my endorphins going again.
That's so great. We hit on two things that I think are important. Whenever people complain to me about whatever they're going through and their problems, I'm always like, okay, first of all, we have to see things as they are, exactly as they are, not worse than they are, not better than they are, but as they are, which I think is really difficult for people to do when you have all those inputs and all those voices.
Yeah, most people going through life don't realize that they're operating according to some kind of memory or belief or system of thinking. And they take that as gospel. They take it as the truth. They think that's the way it really is. But it's only the way it is because you're thinking it that way. It's only the way it is because of your belief or your thoughts. So what we work with people a lot is getting control of your belief system, getting control of your thoughts, the thought system, and realizing that you're interpreting everything. Now, when you're in the thick of it, in the middle of it, most people don't even want to think about that I'm interpreting it. It's just the way it is for me. So
Right.
that's why I say you got to give yourself a break.
Give yourself some space to do that.
Yeah, give yourself some space. Yeah.
That's awesome. So Dr. Ray, let's take a quick break. And when we come back, I'm looking forward to continuing the conversation about falling forward.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I'm just feeling celebration tonight. Celebrate, don't wait too late. No, we don't stop. You can't stop. We're gonna celebrate one more time. One more time. One more time. A celebration.
Hey, welcome back to Tammy's Table. You are so lucky to be in this conversation with Dr. Ray Blanchard. We are talking about different strategies for falling forward when things don't, go the way you thought they were going to go. And we finished before the break. We were talking about basically perspective, the importance of having perspective and giving yourself grace to feel how you're feeling in the moment before you get all, psychological with yourself. I wanted to ask you, how can I turn mistakes into stones that create a path forward?
Oh, great question. I was thinking about that recently, in fact, because I got a couple of the clients that are going through some different things, and one of them also went through a trauma. And what we decided to do is to let them write that out, journalize it and write it out as a story. And then figure out what was the lesson that they learned out of it. Because most people are so into their story, they don't think that I could write this out and figure out a lesson. So what we had them do is write it out, journalize it, and write it out as a story. And then what was the moral of that story? What was the lesson that they learned out of that story that they can share with someone else?
Are you
And
surprised?
oh, wow. In fact, he's having this story become the centerpiece now of a whole new teaching that he's doing. And he has
Wow.
a whole new course and a whole new show. So he's going to be doing a whole new show and a class on how to turn your story into an asset.
I think that's amazing.
Yeah, and so you can leverage it because otherwise you stay stuck in it yourself. But if you can think of it as a lesson that I can teach other people, then you put yourself in that zone of giving to others,
Nice.
and you're pouring into other people, and that connects you with people at a real essential level.
Talk about that a little bit. We haven't talked about gratitude as part of this entire journey. this falling forward journey? Like, where does gratitude fit into that?
Yeah, well, uh, first of all, I wanted to just remember something my mom used to say is when you're in a situation like this too shall pass if you give it time. And I always remember that. And
Yeah,
when she used to say that, we'd be sitting around like at the kitchen table, by the way,
of
and
course.
she would say things like that. And at first they don't make sense, but after you think about it, it really does pass. And what she always used to emphasize is, there are other people who are far worse off than you. And I used to think, oh, how stupid, be saying that. But really and truly, it was a message about count your blessings.
Yeah, I have to tell you, I had a profound experience. So my son has special needs, and
Mhm.
he was always the sickest kid where I live. Like at the hospital, at the doctors, he was always the sickest kid. Um, that was my story. Like, this is the sickest kid, my kid. And then we went to Cincinnati Children's Hospital where he had to have surgery. And
Mhm.
I was surrounded by thousands of kids that were way sicker than my son.
Mhm.
So yeah, that was, whoa, somebody's always worse off. Always, always, always.
And yeah, somebody's always worse off, but not only that, there are also good things in your life that you might be just not aware of when you're in midst of a traumatic situation. So you got to actually use your gift of your thoughts, your mind, and start to think about what you're grateful for. Like one of the things I recommend that people do, and I do every morning, is I start my day with what am I grateful for? I If I don't write it down, I just go through it in my thoughts because so often I used to just get up in the morning and start worrying about all the things ahead. And I was be depressed and I would be in dread of the day and just didn't know how I was going to handle the day and how I was going to get through everything and thinking about all the worst things that would happen. So I started making it a practice to meditate in the morning for a few minutes, maybe 5 to 10 minutes, or pray or your prayer. But start my day after that with a list of the things I'm grateful for. And throughout the day, just take a moment and what am I grateful for? Because that makes me feel better. It gives me a lift. And like I said, my endorphins kick in. So I feel better and things don't seem quite as bad. So I would recommend that most people exercise gratitude. Gratitude is one of the greatest gifts that you have if you can allow yourself to just take a moment. You don't have to spend your whole day being in gratitude, thinking gratitude, but take a time out just to say, what am
Mhm.
I thankful for? What are the good things about this? Even like with your son, um, and you probably see a gift in him. Uh,
Absolutely.
you know, all of what he's gone through and all of what you've gone through, you probably see some light in that too, to some degree.
Yeah. I have a lot of memories, but I'm not going to share them here. But um, that is a beautiful sentiment. I think people underestimate how important the way you start your day is. Um, because that's usually how your day goes. Like, how you start is how your day goes.
Mhm.
But what would you say to somebody who is so angry and so upset about what they're going through? And I'm thinking about a friend of mine who's getting divorced and is just so mad all the time. What would you say to somebody about how to be in gratitude when all you can see is red?
Right. Well, the old expression is what you put in your mind comes out of your mind. So what you put in is going to come out. So if you put in anger, anger is going to come out. And I would recommend always have a couple of good friends because one might not be available when you need them. So always have two or three and connect with people, uh, share. and listen to other people so you can have empathy for other people too. Because once you start to talk to other people, you'll find that they've got just as much going on as you got going on. And you can start to have empathy for them. So it will build empathy and build connection with you. One of the greatest things that I think you and I have talked about in life it gives us is the opportunity to be with family and friends, chat with each other, because that's how you get well, is be connected. One of the things I wanted to just real quickly say is that a lot of people go through a lot of traumas. People commit suicide, people jump off the Golden Gate Bridge and things like that. And so they did a study and investigated some of the people who jumped and still lived.
Oh,
And they asked them, well, what happened? And also these school shootings.
right.
They asked some of them what happened, and they identified three things. One is that a loss of identity, and the other one was loss of belonging, and the third was a loss of community. When those
Interesting.
three things happen, there's no reason to live, and it doesn't matter what I do. So I think one of the first things that you can do is by chatting with people and being with family and friends, you get reconnected with who you are and what your role is, what your purpose is. And you also get a sense of belonging and connected with other people. And
It's
you
powerful.
also can listen to other people too.
Mm-hmm.
And that way you're giving to other people. So it gives you a sense of community, of belonging and community. And I think that's healing. So I think
Yes.
those are the main things to do is stay connected and listen to people, express yourself authentically. Don't
Mm-hmm.
think back. Have somebody that you can talk to that won't judge you, and
Right.
just outflow and then listen to them.
You know, that's such an interesting statistic that I had not heard before. But if you think about when we were in the pandemic on lockdown, that's why so many people struggled. Like they struggled not going to the office. They struggled, not seeing their friends, not going to parties. Um, I think that's why that lockdown was so difficult, because there was no connection unless you actually made the effort to
Mm.
make a connection. And I think if you're feeling down, if you're feeling that you've lost those three things, it's hard to be inspired to make connections. It's hard to, come back once you feel that way.
Once you feel that way, you lose your sense of purpose.
Right. Right.
And if you don't have a purpose, then you don't have hope. And
Beautiful.
if you could reconnect with who you are and reconnect with your role in life, then you gotta reconnect with your sense of purpose. Because if you don't have a sense of purpose, then what
What's the point?
what's the point?
What's the point?
Yeah.
So Ray, let me ask you, we just have a minute left here, but I wanted to know, where do you think falling forward, failing forward, fits in accessing your full potential?
It's really, really critical, because if you can fall forward, then you also can start to achieve and aspire to things. And having aspirations are really what forwards us, and that helps us to thrive. And the important thing is to always be committed to thriving, always be committed to going forward, always be committed to aspiring to things. Because when you do, it creates a different vibration in you. And then you radiate that vibration outward, and you become more attractive to other people. And you start to attract people in your life who want to be engaged with you. And then opportunities open up for you, because other people bring opportunities into your life for you. So falling forward, always have an aspiration, always have some place to go, and always look forward to something. The past happened, but it doesn't have to be your future.
Beautiful. Beautifully said. I First of all, will you come back? I have more to talk to you about.
I would love it. I love
Yeah.
having these kind
Yeah.
of conversations.
Yeah. So for the listeners that have just fallen in love with you, like I have, where can they find you? And tell me, what are you working on?
I'm working on a lot of stuff, but you can find me at rayblanchard.com. And if you go there, you can pick up my 8 steps to manifest your vision. And that will help you to start structuring your aspirations and achieve your dreams, achieve your aspirations. I'm working on a book right now. I'm working on another class to train trainers. And I'm going to start another mastermind with some of the forward-thinking people. So I've got a bunch of things that I'm working on.
Nice.
And
You have lots of aspirations.
yeah, I had gotten to that part of my life, being 76 years old. I thought, it's time to retire. My family wants me to retire. But then I said, who wants to retire? I want to keep living. I want to keep doing things.
Absolutely.
And
keep
alive.
Yes. Well, listen, thanks again for coming on. And thank you all for listening to our conversation about falling forward. You can hear Tami's Table every Monday, 12 p.m. Eastern Time. Have a fantastic week.
This work is subject to copyright owned by Affinity Global LLC. Any reproduction or republication of all or part of this is expressly prohibited unless Affinity Global LLC has explicitly granted its prior written consent. All other rights reserved.